Predictions. You gave them. I'll take a look. I'll judge you for them and interpret how likely they are to happen. Fnatic is the only team to make quarters at Worlds this year. The weird thing about the format for Worlds, right? Knowing the Swiss format and so forth, this is a possible thing, but I don't think it's going to be based on merit. I think in terms of how the global landscape is right now, in terms of overall League of Legends level, I do think there's going to be an element of luck that, of course, is going to bring teams to quarterfinals, depending on, of course, their draws. The angle that you can go for here, in my mind, I do think Fnatic has the highest potential ceiling out of the current teams in terms of playstyle and in terms of, let's say, macro knowledge, but they have a very, very low floor. I do think that Fnatic, there can be a world where Fnatic is the strongest team being sent to an international event. Although trusting them to go far is a difficult thing because you know that they have, that very, very low floor in comparison to, of course, the other teams that are, comparable, like KC, G2, FlyQuest, and so on. So can Fnatic be lucky enough to make it to the next level? Maybe. Can I see them beating LCK teams or LPL teams on their merit? Maybe a 4th seed. A 3rd seed is going to already get tricky. I think that through the force of randomness, maybe. Dom says, T1 doesn't make MSI or Worlds or wins one singular game for the rest of the year and then disband. One singular game, Dom. One singular game. At least, at least give us something to work with, Dom. If the angle is that T1 don't make MSI and they don't make Worlds, then I guess there could be like a form of disbandment happening because, the main concern is Faker going to retire? Are players going to be tired of all things, all things together? Is there going to be place for a player like Korea and Owner on some of the other teams? I can definitely see a world where, just imagine for a second. Imagine a world where Gen G had Korea and Owner. That doesn't sound fair to me. And the main question then is, can T1 then, offer enough of a checkbook to bring players back to them? They are building up for, this whole build-up. Everything is first MSI, then Worlds, and then after Worlds. That off-season is going to be so damn crucial about the future of T1 because they have captured lightning in the bottle. And that bottle is showing a lot of cracks currently. G2 League of Legends say, we randomly lock in and speedrun all the way to 0-3 World Final again this year. I like that they say randomly. Part of the magic was G2, G2 as a team. When they look at their worst, they find a way to be Fnatic. The thing is, about G2's badness right now, I think it comes from the purest place. When I say purest place, I mean their level is genuinely bad. There is no signs of, fatigue or laziness, that we saw in previous splits. It's like, oh, it's G2, they'll figure this out. I don't think this is true anymore. I think individual level looks very low, macro level looks low, draft level looks very low. While I do think G2 can figure some of these things out, I feel like the theoretical ceiling of this team, as based on what we've seen so far, is the lowest we probably have ever seen when it comes to G2 in the context of the other teams as well. Because the main point of comparison would be the G2 roster with Targamas and, Broken Blade and Jankos and Caps. But I feel like that roster at the time when that was conceived still, a little bit more exciting in terms of the potential ceiling in comparison to what this is now. G2 currently, you guys need to show me a lot of fucking new shit before I start believing you guys again, because right now it's looking ugly. And if you can't figure out LEC, ain't no way you're making a World Finals. And the fact that G2 League dropped it randomly, bro, it doesn't even sound like the social media manager believes in this fucking take. So this is Dom's counterpart. T1 is going to harness the devil's magic and somehow miraculously switch it on 1 week before playoffs and qualify to MSI. I want to remind everybody, they almost lost to KT Game 5 to qualify to the World Championship. They lost to Damwon. Do you guys remember how bad Damwon was that year? With Moham and fucking Kingen sprinting it. They lost to Damwon to send them to the World Championship, when truly the best two teams that should have gone was T1 and KT. So they sent Damwon, and you guys saw how Damwon did at the World Championship. You know, they did absolutely atrocious. And then they almost lost the Game 5 against BDD's Yon when they were like 3-4k goal behind, but Battle decided, I don't want to go to Worlds. I want to stay at home and play Honkai Star Rail. That already exhausted a lot of that devil's magic. A lot of it. The key thing for me is, when we talk about devil's magic, the only thing that I think about when it comes to devil's magic is patches. Maybe Riot Games, in this case the devil's magic, really want T1 to make it. And Spirit Blossom, the patch, is very, very good for T1. Why? Because everything is going to be about bot lane. No more grubs, pattern the bot, fight around bot, snowball bot, get level 6 on your support, have a massive ultimate, like Bard ultimate, Renato ultimate, squeeze as much as you can in range. We have gone full circle back to, of course, 2023 meta, where there was Rift Herald, and all you did with support was get level 6 before minute 8, cross through mid, win the big fight, take the Herald. And now with the objectives spaced out and everything being around bot lane matchup, maybe they can find that groove again. But right now they are so far from that groove. This Emperor got no groove because they don't even lane well. But maybe now with the commitment into Gumiyushi, maybe there's some potential there. Gilligan says, KC wins spring and summer LEC. Anyone's Legend makes a deep run at MSI or Worlds. GILIUS starts coaching 2026-2027 and gives Europe hope for international success. KC wins spring and summer LEC. Well, there is a very, very clear opportunity to become super fucking dominant again. KC, I think that they have a very, very high floor. The team fighting is really good. I think that there are certain contexts where they play better in, and they can always kind of fall back on that. I think that KC definitely have a way higher floor than Fnatic. So if Fnatic don't perform and they give them opportunity to beat them, KC is the type of team to take it. I can see a world where this happens based off of, you know, the condition of G2. It's like, if KC wins spring and summer, it means that they have to beat Fnatic and, of course, G2. G2 looks insanely beatable, and Fnatic definitely can beat themselves. So I can see that. Anyone's Legend makes a deep run at MSI or Worlds. My main concern about Anyone's Legend is that I think that this team is very similar to KC in some ways, but less of a, let's say, mechanical ceiling in the context of LPL. Obviously, I think if Anyone's Legend played in the fucking LEC, they would be mechanically fucking insane. But what I mean is, I think that in order to win a championship, you also need to perform individually just as good as everybody else. And there's some opportunities to step up within LPL and also in of course, the World Championship. But it's hard for me to imagine that Anyone's Legend as a team will be able to keep up against teams that are equally disciplined to them. I do think that Anyone's Legend is insanely well coached, and I think in terms of concepts, they're super, super insane. But I think that when they meet their match on these things and they're playing against like top 3 build teams, like Genji, Our Life, or whatever team is going to end up winning the LPL, right? I think this will be just the biggest challenge. I think that Tabe is really, really getting the most out of this player group. And I think that some of their individual players need to break some, you know, ceilings in terms of how good they are playing. They need to show some new mechanical ceilings in order for me to imagine them doing a deep run at MSI Worlds. And then Gilligan starts coaching. You know, I'd be high for Gilligan coaching. I think that, you know, the main thing I would love to see from Gilligan is that he needs to find a deep consistency in his own personal philosophy, because he has a lot of strong ideas, I just want to see Gilligan commit to something and holistically live that idea. and because I think that he, you know, through the law of attraction can definitely get a lot out of people in terms of their confidence levels. And I can see a world where GILIUS would be an effective coach. One day, Riot will make their esport a third party like ESL following the drop in hype of the franchise league. I fully agree. I fully agree. The angle, of course, is I think that all of the leagues are massive loss. You know, just loss leaders. Like they not even loss leaders. They just operate at a loss. And what's the potential gain in the future? It looks like an impossibility. In the past, Riot could write it off because at least they use it as an advertisement vehicle to, of course, you know, get money back through people playing the game and buying skins. And those are the metrics that will never be shared with us. But now that LEC is too costly, LCK is too costly, LTA is completely dying, I think that these leagues will stay, but they will be online leagues of teams that are not in the top 3. And I think the model we will move towards is that the major regions are going to be pretty much, you know, all of the teams that are not in the top 3. All the top 3 teams are going to be invited to tournaments that are being ran by TOs like ESL or anything else, EWC, or, you know, whoever has the money to, of course, run this. And we're going to see, you know, bi-monthly competition of the best, you know, teams on paper in the world. And then maybe you have like one team qualifying from each of these regions that I said. And then you just have a tournament with automatically T1, Genji, How Alive, KC, Koi, and G2 or Fnatic, whoever you want to choose. And then you have like FlagQuest and Team Liquid and C9. They're already in the league. And then basically the regional leagues are going to be more used for, you know, player development. And then you have already, you know, guaranteed international competition with the best of the best, similar to, of course, the CSGO structure. Because at least you put the burden on, of course, the TOs to run the tournaments. And I think that they can do a much, much better job of running tournaments and making a circuit that makes a lot of sense. The main thing here is that I don't know if Riot's going to wait out the franchise teams or if they're going to, you know, pay them off. We already see, like in the LPL, where LPL is like, yo, the bottom 6 teams that are in Nirvana group, we want you out of the league. We're putting your games on Monday morning when nobody gives a fuck. 2 teams get eliminated from summer. They're trying to give as many incentives as possible for these teams to just fuck off. They want to limit the league to some top-end teams. And I think a world where as things proceed, I think the franchise system will dissolve, because I think it is a failure, because the point was to make everything financially stable. It is not stable. If Koi can make an event, if KC can make an event, if there are TOs and organizers that can make massive events and massive competition, I think this is the way to move forward. I think this is the future. This guy, predicting world's winners and MVPs for the next 5 years. Season 15, Weibo Gaming, Xiaohu MVP. Team Liquid, APA MVP. Season 16. Season 17, KCorp, KALIST MVP. Season 18, T1, Poby MVP. Season 19, RNG, APA MVP. You know, when libertarians say that all drugs should be legal and, you know, it will, you know, limit, you know, criminal behavior because people will find a way to get access to things and whatever. I think people like this is the counter argument, because this person should be restricted from all access to anything. Ben Hughes says, Anivia will become a higher prior pick in pro play this year. Interesting. Well, Road of Ages being strong is definitely like a signal. Road of Ages getting nerfed on the Spirit Blossom patch. We saw Anivia being played in a couple of moments. The main issue Anivia has is that she's not the greatest against traditional mages. There's definitely certain pockets where she's great in. Like when Caps picked it against Vladi's Rise, that was fucking brilliant. And Draven, and you know, playing it into Sion too. All of those elements were fucking wonderful. I think that was really, really good. We saw Kingen absolutely smurf his face off with Anivia a couple of times. We even saw Nako smurf on Anivia. There's definitely spots where Anivia warps games completely. I think this champion is super, super powerful. But there's more games where she's weaker in than she's strong in. So to see that she's going to be high prior pick, I think that's kind of a stretch, because still the longer range mages like Azir are going to be decent into her. But I do think Anivia is underrated, and I could see a world where she gets picked more. That's it for the predictions. If I should make some of my own, I do think I agree with the man saying, you know, about the everything moving towards, you know, a tournament format, you know, where we're going to move ourselves away from franchising. I think that we are currently, everything is bubbling up towards the point where, you know, the league will reach like a breaking point. Because right now, I think as humans and as people that interact with entertainment, we hold on to nostalgia. We want our time to be invested in something that will last. And I think the moment you don't feel that same level of continuity from the casters, from the co-streamers, from even the players and the teams that are involved, there is going to be very few things that keep you tethered. Because in a game that is ever changing and everything is always new, the nostalgia factor is not there. If you compare it to, for example, Counter-Strike, Counter-Strike is very easy to tune into. They're playing the same maps as they played in 1.6 or Go or Source, whether it's Nuke or Inferno or Dust 2. The gunplay is very similar. It's very easy, even though I didn't play for 15 years, to just hop in and understand where we're at. The rounds are very, very condensed, and the excitement and the thrill is a clear build-up to an engagement and a fight, and then reset, start over. Very easy to tune into. League of Legends as a game is a very, very big investment of time in order to understand the nuance. So where do people take their enjoyment from? The World Championship is the best example. All the storylines that they are building, all those intros with Faker in particular, T1 winning the World Championship. There's a lot of things that have gone so right for League of Legends that have kept the popularity at an all-time high, whether it was the DRX Cinderella story and T1 losing in a final, and then T1 winning Worlds, and then T1 winning Worlds again. You know, it needs to be attractive to the casual. And right now, what is attractive to the casual are the things that they can recognize. And I don't know what's going to happen post a point where Faker no longer plays, where Kato loses interest, or Kameto loses interest, or let's say Doinbi in China loses interest, Deshai loses interest, Rookie retires. There are certain names that carry so much weight, and when these people move on, I don't know what is going to happen. It already happened with Ibai, right? Ibai, massive name, of course, passed the torch to people within his org, but Ibai is, you know, less in tune with what's happening on the league side, which is understandable. You know, he follows his interests, and I'm sure that he has a lot of things that keep him busy. But what happens when this happens for more and more people? What happens when Faker retires? And that to me is the biggest concern. Because Riot now need to use League of Legends as the caterpillar that will breathe life into the butterfly that is the next generation, next game that they can bring people into. Because over time, with any game like League of Legends, over years, the biggest challenge is how do you keep it fresh? How do you keep it inviting to new players? But the longer a game goes on, the less inviting it is for new players to play. That's always the case with online PvP games. That's it for the predictions. Do you have any predictions of your own? Maybe put them in the chat or in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like or leave a dislike. Interact with the video, because YouTube is like, oh, wow, they interact with your video. Your video is so great. I'm going to show it to other people. And that's the algorithm for you. And if you want to support me through the algorithm. Appreciate that. Catch you on the Flippy Flop. Peace.